Welcome back. Now, small businesses often rooted in local communities contribute to economic inclusivity, acting as catalysts for growth, job creation and community development. The South African brewery celebrated local retailers in the beer manufacturing value chain, reaffirming its commitment to localization. On the sidelines, I caught up with Kganki Matabane, CEO of the Black Business Council, to unpack the role of small businesses in the economic landscape and how organizations like the BBC protect small businesses from the negative impacts of illicit alcohol trade.
And maybe let me start with the bigger role that the retailers are playing in the economy. So as you all know, we've got a serious unemployment problem. Yeah. We have basically almost half the people who are supposed to be working are not working. Yeah. If you look at the expanded unemployment rate, it's like 42%, 43%. And they'll tell you 85% of the people who are discouraged from looking for jobs, they say if they find a job, they will work. But there's just nothing in South Africa. So it's very, very important then that we say, how do we find solutions to resolve the unemployment problem, especially youth unemployment? And research after research tells us that small businesses can be the solution, especially because their entry level, so their entry criteria is not as stringent as big business. So it's important then that we need to support as many small businesses as possible. Coming to this event, you're supposed to support as many taverners, as many retailers as possible, so that they can create jobs. So the relationship between big businesses and small business is very, very important, because big business, through their resources, are able to support the small businesses. Small businesses need access to funding, access to the markets, which the retailers, in a way, they have. They need to be helped with the infrastructure. They need to be helped with the compliance to legislation. They need to be helped also with the compliance to taxation legislation, make sure that their books are in order. And because the big companies like SAB have the capacity, they are able to do that. And obviously through other programs like the CSI programs, the enterprise development programs, they are able to then assist those companies and small business to make sure that they are sustainable. And also, once they are sustainable, then they can grow. Yes. And they need credit lines, for example, to be able to then have enough stock that they need to sell. Yes. So we view this relationship as very, very important, and we hope other companies in other sectors can learn a similar thing, to say, let's do less talk and do more action. Yeah. Because through actions, we'll be able to grow our economy, and then we'll be able to reduce unemployment.
It's actually quite, you say that small businesses can be the solution, but I mean, they also deal with their own challenges. And you mentioned some of the support structures that, the private sector companies like SAB are providing. But also, it's not just about market access. It's not about funding as well. It's also about regulation. So then how do we navigate also a tight regulatory environment? Who exactly do we need to, who do we need to tap into in terms of, businesses being able to be helped by an enabling regulatory landscape?
Hence, we're saying there's a need for business, governments, and then the society to work together. Yes. Because, as you know, these businesses are operating in a society. Yeah. So you cannot necessarily leave them out, because they're playing a role. They are consuming products that, if those products are illegal, not health-wise, they may get affected negatively. So it's important that we must all work together to say, how do we find a way of complying because a compliance in an urban area, a compliance in a township, compliance in an informal settlement, a compliance in a rural area may not necessarily be the same. Because in the rural area, we've got space. Yeah. In a township, you've got a little bit of a space. In an informal settlement, you don't necessarily even have space. Then how do you encourage people to then be entrepreneurial in those type of environments? So we need to then say, compliance, we need to be very, very strict on compliance. But then we need to then introduce some flexibility as to compliance depending on the location and the locality where you are. As I indicated, you can't then say be 50 meters from the road when you are in an informal settlement. Yeah. Where is the road? Where is the house? Where is the business? It's not practical. Yes. So even if the person wants to comply, they will fail if the legislation, the regulation is not flexible. So we just need to find a way without encouraging people not to comply. So people still have to get licenses to trade, make sure that they are health conscious, they do everything that protects the consumer at the end of the day. But let's find a way of being flexible.
And I mean, talking about compliance, we're also dealing with a very, very big problem, particularly in the alcohol industry of illicit trade as well. And I can imagine it's not just big businesses that are being impacted, but it's also small businesses. So how are you viewing, this problem? Is there a way that organizations such as the Black Business Council can actually come in to kind of combat this and also protect the small retailers in that value chain?
Yes, what we do, we do a lot of awareness campaigns to say there is this problem, be aware of it. Yeah. It's very tempting from a business point of view, because if alcohol costs 10 rands, yes, because it's illicit, and the legal one costs 100 rands. From a numbers point of view, it's very, very tempting. Hence, we were doing campaigns to say, as tempting as it is, it's got so many disadvantages. What happens if people drink it and then they are poisoned? Yeah. You may lose the entire business trying to save 90 rands. So it's important that we need to keep on educating the member. But from a government point of view, we're also talking to government to say, government, is your job to make sure that there's a law enforcement in, yes, South Africa. Okay. Remember, majority of this illicit alcohol does not even originate in South Africa. So you will have part of it originating here, people having some manufacturing plants in their own farms, own houses. But that again is because of law enforcement agencies are not doing their job. But the bulk of it will be imported from other countries, which then tells you where does it, if it comes from, I'm just giving an example, if it comes from China, where does it pass before it comes to the taverns and before it comes to the businesses? It means at the airport, it means at the borders, there are no strict controls. Hence, it becomes easier for people then to get the alcohol into South Africa. So it's very important that we need to work together to make sure that we deal with the matter. But also, even from a customer point of view, it's important that customers also need to report if they suspect that this may be an illicit alcohol. And you've had CGCSA has got an app where you can confirm if this is illicit or not. We're encouraging them to use that and report this. Again, if we don't deal with the corruption within the law enforcement agencies, people may report, but nothing gets done. Then what happens? So it's important again to work together so that we can deal with the problem and solve it.
That was Kganki Matabane, CEO of the Black Business Council.